Imagine a man weathered by the sea standing before the highest court in the land. He holds aloft a shriveled, pickled object. It is an ear, his ear, severed by the sword of a Spanish coast guard. This, my friends, is no ordinary tale. This is the story of Jenkins' ear, a seemingly insignificant body part, that ignited a global conflict. The War of Jenkins' Ear, fought between Great Britain and Spain from 1739 to 1748, might seem like a footnote in the grand tapestry of history, but don't be fooled by its peculiar name or seemingly insignificant origins. This is a story of maritime rivalry, political intrigue, and the relentless pursuit of power. It's a story that reminds us that even the smallest spark can ignite a global conflagration. Our story begins in 1731, in the warm waters of the Caribbean. Captain Robert Jenkins, a British merchant captain, sailed his ship through a perilous sea of international rivalry. Spain and Great Britain, locked in a struggle for trade and colonial dominance, viewed each other with suspicion and hostility. On a fateful day off the coast of Cuba, Jenkins's ship was boarded by a Spanish patrol ship, commanded by the ruthless Captain Julio Leon Fandino. The Spanish, suspecting Jenkins of smuggling, were not known for their gentle treatment of suspected interlopers. What followed was a brutal scene. Jenkins was tortured, his ship ransacked, and to add insult to injury, Fandino sliced off his ear. News of Jenkins' ordeal and the severed ear, preserved in a jar of brandy, eventually reached London. Public outrage was palpable. Jenkins, displaying his gruesome souvenir, became a symbol of Spanish aggression. But war was a costly endeavour, and the British government, led by Prime Minister Robert Walpole, was hesitant to engage in a full-blown conflict. For years, tensions simmered. The British public clamoured for retribution, fuelled by Jenkins's tale and the growing resentment towards Spanish interference with their trade. Finally, in 1738, with anti-Spanish sentiment reaching fever pitch, Walpole bowed to public pressure and declared war on Spain. The War of Jenkins's Ear had begun. The war's early days were marked by naval skirmishes and raids on shipping, but the first major engagement, and the one that would come to define the conflict, was the attack on Cartagena de Indias, a strategically vital Spanish port city on the coast of present-day Colombia. In 1741, a massive British expeditionary force, commanded by Admiral Edward Vernon, laid siege to Cartagena. The British, however, vastly underestimated the strength of the Spanish defences and the tenacity of their resistance. The attack on Cartagena was a disaster for the British. Disease ravaged the ranks of the poorly supplied and ill-prepared British forces. After weeks of intense fighting and heavy losses, Vernon was forced to withdraw. His dreams of a swift and decisive victory dashed against the walls of Cartagena. Section 5. A World Ablaze. The War of Austrian Succession. The War of Jenkins' Ear, initially a localized conflict between Britain and Spain, soon became entangled in the larger web of European rivalries. In 1740, the death of Holy Roman Emperor Charles VI triggered a succession crisis in Austria. The War of Austrian Succession erupted, drawing in other European powers like France, Prussia, and Great Britain. The War of Jenkins' Ear now intertwined with the larger European conflicts spread across the globe. Battles raged not only in Europe but also in North America, the Caribbean, and India. The lines between the initial conflict and the wider war became blurred, with Jenkins' Ear becoming a distant memory in a much larger and more complex struggle for power. Section 6. Peace and its Discontents. The Treaty of Aix-la-Chapelle. After 8 years of bloody conflict, the warring powers, exhausted and eager for peace, signed the Treaty of Aix-la-Chapelle in 1748. The treaty largely restored the status quo ante bellum, returning captured territories and prisoners of war. Spain and Great Britain agreed to return to the negotiating table to resolve their outstanding colonial disputes, a process that would drag on for years. While the Treaty of Aix-la-Chapelle brought an end to the fighting, it did little to address the underlying tensions that had sparked the conflict in the first place. Section 7. The Seeds of Empire, Jenkins' Ear and British Destiny. The War of Jenkins' Ear, though ostensibly a defeat for Great Britain, had profound consequences for the future of the British Empire. The war highlighted the importance of naval power and colonial possessions in the contest for global dominance. It spurred Britain to invest heavily in its navy, laying the foundation for its future maritime supremacy. This, in turn, would enable Britain to secure its hold on its existing colonies and expand its empire in the decades to come. Section 8. A Forgotten War, a Pivotal Moment. The War of Jenkins' Ear, often overshadowed by the larger and more well-known conflicts that bookend it, deserves to be remembered as a pivotal moment in history. It marked a turning point in the relationship between Britain and Spain, signaling the decline of Spanish power and the rise of British dominance. It also foreshadowed the global nature of future conflicts as European rivalries played out on battlefields across the globe. Though often relegated to a footnote in history books, the War of Jenkins' Ear stands as a testament to the interconnectedness of global events and the enduring impact of seemingly insignificant events. Section 9. Echoes of the Past, Lessons from a Severed Ear. The story of Jenkins' Ear, a tale as bizarre as it is significant, serves as a potent reminder of the unpredictability of history. What began as a seemingly isolated act of violence on the high seas escalated into a global conflict that reshaped the political landscape of the world. It reminds us that history is not merely a linear progression of events, but a complex tapestry woven from countless threads of human ambition, folly, and the often unintended consequences of our actions. And sometimes, all it takes is a single severed ear to set the world ablaze.